Hey everybody, welcome to the channel. So today I've got two 1025R tractors in the shop, and we're going to do the PIP, which is the Product Improvement Program from John Deere. Unfortunately, that program no longer exists, is what I was told by the dealer. And what that is for an air filter mounting issue that they had. Let's check it out. So this 1025R is a 2018, and it has 251.9 hours on it. And this 1025R is a 2016, and it has 178.6 hours on it. And one of these has a wasp nest on it, and I've been swatting wasps since I pulled these in here. And the job we've got today is put a new air filter canister from John Deere on both of these. So the 2016 hood just has this mechanical strut. The 2018 has hydraulic cylinders. Oh well, so what we're gonna do is put a new air filter container with the filter and the hoses on these tractors. And this is Product Improvement Kit MPLV 10188. My understanding is, up until a few years ago, John Deere dealers would give you one of these if you were the original owner of this tractor, which we were, but we didn't know about this until recently, and that program has ended. Now this kit, which comes with the air filter too, so that's not too bad, but will run you about 200 bucks. So let's get it on there. We've done a few videos of these tractors, and it's honestly because here on the homestead between myself and Bill across the street, we use these tractors constantly. They're just so incredibly handy. But a few months ago, I got a comment on one of my videos, and the guy said, hey, I noticed you haven't changed your air filter. You need to do that before your motor breaks. And he referenced a Tractor Time with Tim video. And so I went and watched that video, and somehow I've never heard of this, but it sure made sense. And Tim has actually broken 2 of these brackets. Luckily, he's never ruined a motor, but looking into this, I've seen a whole bunch of pictures on the internet of people that break the top of this engine head because that bracket breaks. And we sure don't want that. So I started looking into these air filter relocation kits, and that's what this is from John Deere. So we got these kits from our local John Deere dealer, and unfortunately, I guess a few years ago, John Deere was actually giving these to the original owners of these tractors, but that program sadly ended a few years back, I guess. Oh well, can't win every time. The main thing is to get these things changed out before we have any engine problems with either one of these tractors. These bolts that hold this bracket on are the culprit behind breaking off parts of this motor. And I was amazed because these were locking nuts, but they were not tight at all. They were snug down, and I didn't want to, put any vibration or torque on them and then cause that to break this head. But I was just amazed because these things were all but loose. So looking at this head, there are no cracks, no holes. I was very relieved. And I'm a little nervous because Bill's 1025R is the next one I'm going to do. And it's got about twice the hours on it that this one does. Here is the kit, and it's basically a bracket that goes on to 2 holes that are already on this tractor. So there's no drilling or anything like that involved. It's pretty straightforward. And basically that bracket's going to bolt on to where, by the radiator, this U-bolt clips into it, and then you put a nut in there backwards into a slot, and then slide that U-bolt through there and put a locking bolt then on that, or a locking nut. And that basically holds this air filter in. One of the things I wondered after I ordered this kit was if it had the air filter in it. And it does. It has a inner and outer filter. And I'll tell you what, when you go to change the air filter, which probably both of these are due anyway, that can be as much as 50 bucks. So that kind of made the sting of the $200 kit a little less. I've been writing the hours and the date that I change air filters, or oil filters for that matter, basically any filter that you can write on, for quite a while now. And believe it or not, I'm amazed at how much simpler my maintenance has become now. Like I said, if you're not sure the last time you did it, just look at the filter. Pretty easy. I also buy a lot of used equipment because I can't afford anything other than that. And like I said, that's one of the things too to look at when you're looking at that is look at the hours on the filter. If they're on there, it may help you out. And I've never heard of anybody writing lower hours on filters than something has, but I guess it could be a thing. This bracket clips on, and I'm wondering, how did it come about that when they designed this thing, without ever having this filter relocation kit in mind, that they happened to put two holes that weren't used for anything else right here where it'd be perfect to have this relocation bracket? Oh well, I'm not a big conspiracy theorist, but I can see where they get it sometimes. So once the bracket's on, actually put the air filter canister in place, and then this U-bolt clips in at the bottom, and then there are 5 little grooves, and I just put it in that middle groove, so basically whatever, there's 2 on each side of this U-bolt, and then that's where you put that nut on backwards into that bracket, and then put your little 10 millimeter locking nut on top of that and tighten it down. Like I said, it really is a pretty cool little piece of engineering for something that, like I said, they had to figure out a few years into production on this tractor. I think they came out with this fix late 2018, maybe 2019. And the reason for that is, like I said, this tractor is a 16. I think these came out in 15, but I've got an 18 sitting over there that they addressed this problem, but they didn't address it by moving the air filter. Once the canister's mounted, you want to make sure that the little dust drain, that little vented drain at the bottom, is at the bottom. Sometimes, I guess, in shipping these things, they go on no matter where. There's just multiple notches you can line it up in, but you want that drain to be at the bottom. And then after that, it's just putting your air hose, intake hose on. The intake to the filter is the same as what this was before the relocation kit, and that's that little stubby part that goes into that radiator bracket, I guess. And then the longer hose here goes from the air filter to the intake of the engine. Just be absolutely certain that you've got this air intake hose all the way down on that manifold, and then that you tighten up your hose clamp. You don't want any air or dust or anything like that to be able to be sucked into your motor and not go through the filter. So it's just, it's pretty easy to do, but I can see if you got in a hurry where it could be fairly easy to not get it right. And you don't want that. Now it's just a matter of buttoning everything back up. So, like I said, pretty simple and straightforward. My understanding is that while that program was going on, the John Deere dealers would actually, give you these parts. But then if you needed them to install it, they would charge you a half-hour install to do that. And I think that's probably about fair. The part that I kind of question about with John Deere is, why'd they keep this a secret for so long? Like I said, basically, I found out about it secondhand. I guess a lot of people have found out it by watching videos. And that's one of the reasons I made this video, is just in case you've got one of these tractors, look and make sure that the air filter's not running along lengthwise of the engine. You want to be sure that it's been relocated so that it goes horizontal across the engine bay up by the radiator. And if you've got a tractor that's not that way yet, I had 2 of them, and that's why we're changing them. I can't afford a destroyed engine, and it's just too nice of a tractor to take a chance on, in my opinion. Now that I've got the first one done, the second one's going to take a lot less time, so we'll just kind of blow through it. But here is one of the differences on the 2018. And when I actually told Bill about that we needed to do these relocate kits, he said he seemed to remember the salesman telling him that they had fixed that problem with his and he didn't have to worry about it. Well, this is what they did in 2018 to address this problem. If you look at these brackets, this is the 2018 bracket and this is the 2016 bracket. So they doubled the size of that air filter bracket to try to keep these things from having issues breaking. But according to Tractor Time with Tim, he's had one of each of these break. And even though we haven't had either one of them, looking at it, like I said, you'd almost think that heavier, thicker bracket might almost cause more stress to the top of the engine head. But anyway, I don't know. I'm not an engineer, but I'm glad we're getting these changed. And you can see kind of a stress mark that runs across both of these brackets. So I'd say it's probably, that's some kind of fatigue of the metal. Oh well. I do like the way these new air filter canisters lock on. Like I said, you put them on, line them up where you want them. It turns like an eighth of a turn, and then that orange tab, you just push it in to lock it down. Pretty nifty. So this second one probably took me about, I don't know, maybe more than 10 minutes, but definitely not more than 15. But it's pretty nice to have both of these finished up, buttoned up, and we're ready to roll. All right, well, that's going to do it for this video and this job. And this only required an 8mm socket, a 10mm socket, and a 13mm socket. And I had wrenches for those as well. But the first one probably took me a little bit over a half hour to do. The second one, maybe about 10 minutes. So half-hour labor per repair is fair, I'd say. Other than that, if you got anything out of this video, give us a thumbs up. It absolutely helps our channel. And we invite you to subscribe to see more. Have a great day and be safe.